Just trying to get them set up and easing into it. That should be alright. Do you want a bit of water?
Sure. There's brandy glasses there. How they used to.
You're the only fancy one.
If you want to pour a shot of brandy, you put it down like that. You fill the brandy up, and by the time it gets to the edge, that's a shot.
Really?
That's a measure.
No way.
Yeah, there you go.
You're a brandy man, are you?
No, I worked in the bar.
Oh, did you? That's mad. I never knew that. You put it sideways.
Yeah, well, like there was one. You might have heard. I was thinking it's Louis XIII or whatever. There's some bottles that like you pick up, not brandy, it's probably cognac or whatever.
Yeah.
They cost £1,500. You know.
Oh wow, jeez.
I've seen them for like, some of them are like 15 grand if you want.
Wow.
You can get really old ones. So you don't want to put that into a measure, that vodka, whiskey, and everything has been in, and then put it in. So that's how you do it. You pour the glass down, hold the bottle nice slowly. That's it.
I would say there's real technique.
There was a drink in Weston. It was 140 euros a shot.
Jesus, and it's brandy nice.
Well, some of the ingredients of this are back to the 19th century. If you're a drinker,
Yeah.
And you're a connoisseur, you taste the difference like a fine whiskey,
Oh, interesting. That's mad.
Yeah.
And did you ever get to try any yourself?
No, I didn't fucking buy
No.
140 quid. No.
You didn't chance it?
Didn't be arsed with that.
Even behind the bar, no?
Yes, no. They'd be looking at that.
What would your drink of choice have been?
Just beer and wine.
Yeah.
I don't drink these days.
Good man. I love it. Like I said, we'll probably mention that towards the end anyway.
Yeah.
We'll get into it. Rob Gallagher, how we doing?
Good, James. Thanks for having us.
No problem at all. Like I was said many times before, been a big admirer of the work that you've done over how many years? Is it 6 years that Movement 101's going or more?
Yeah, we're going about 6 years. I was working before that, of course. So yeah, Movement 101 is about 6 years old. That's right.
I actually think it's definitely 6 years old.
6
Because I
years
got an
old.
email this morning saying it was your 6th birthday, offering some hip mobility routine.
That's right. Well,
Yeah.
it's a coaching course that Brian's doing.
Lovely.
So it's more than just following a thing. There's a bit of explanation and education behind it as well.
Brilliant. That's very big nowadays, especially when you're offering a course that people want more than just what it used to be, the surface level stuff. You want to almost be empowered by it and go on and have the ability to actually teach people from the course that you do.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I think it depends on the individual and experience levels and what they're trying to get out of it.
Of course.
Like I've bought, relatively cheap programs that might be 12 weeks, and I know how to follow them.
Yeah.
And I can auto-regulate.
Of course.
Maybe some of what we do is there's a bit more coaching involved. It's not simply a pull-up or a push-up or a squat.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. Some of the cues you would have seen.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on. So feedback and that helps.
Yeah.
You can follow a really good video for 2-3 minutes. But for example, with TELUS members, they'd send in videos and we can give them further cues.
Of course.
Because very often we're not doing it how we think we're doing it. And
Of course, yeah.
When we look at videos, etc., that makes a difference.
It's great having someone to analyse that as well, isn't it? Because you have your own perspective on things, but then another set of eyes see it and they go, actually, you could tweak this a small bit. And then they do that and they're like, oh my God, I can feel this much more. It's just small cues.
Yeah, and that's why, I've thought about this a bit. That's why Rory McIlroy has a golf coach.
Yeah.
Rory McIlroy is better at golf than his golf coach.
Yeah.
Or you can name any other athlete, like a top swimmer, Novak Djokovic, his team of coaches. So they have, like you said, a different perspective.
Exactly.
And that's often what it takes. It mightn't be a huge thing, but just, hey, try this, try that.
Yeah, I think we all need that in life though, Rob, don't we? We need like someone else just looking in on us going, maybe you're not doing the right thing here. It's almost like just a second opinion.
Yeah,
of whatever you're doing in a coaching sense and just even like in a a friendship or a relationship sense as well.
But it's easier for it's easy for example, taking videos.
Yeah.
I take videos a lot, obviously for Instagram, for social media, and I've recorded countless tutorials. I was just doing some new stuff there a couple of days ago. But when I look back on my video, I learned then. So I learned from looking at myself move.
It's very important,
So it's just a great tool that we didn't always have. We weren't always carrying around a camera in our pockets,
Yeah.
So definitely it's a nice move. Like what I say to people, anyone listening, record yourself doing exercises. It doesn't have to be it might be just one exercise and then look back at it.
It's a great point, and it's not always for vanity. It's what it is. It's about, like you said,
technique.
Well, technique, exactly. Yeah, am I executing this exercise properly? Because you'll always get more out of an exercise when it's done correctly.
Yes, and I remember chatting to a fella on Instagram there a while ago. He's like, well, I know how to do deadlifts. I was like, well, hold on. I've literally just spent, 25 minutes watching this professional bodybuilder who's at a kind of elite level, getting coached in deadlifting. The guy was lifting like 250, 300 kgs. Jesus. He knows how to deadlift. Again, Rory McIlroy knows how to hit a golf club. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But
there's levels
studying it.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so you can watch a video. Anyone's going to be taught to deadlift in a minute. Are you like I could say I know how to golf swing. I ain't getting any easier.
It's quite interesting. Touching on just the hip joint. I wasn't planning on beginning the conversation this way, but I'm glad it's gone this route already, because it's probably one of the most common operations that happen worldwide is a hip operation. And, I think it almost comes down to people not moving their hip joint enough. It's a ball and socket joint, and I've heard you talk about it 101 times before. What could people do more of to help their hip mobility?
Yeah. It's I would say like there's a few things about it. First of all, this might sound weird, but I'm probably lucky enough to have a couple of hip injuries. Like I have a labrum tear that was diagnosed in MRI 5 years ago, and a femur acetabular impingement. So my left hip is kind of more externally rotated than my right. Now I was talking to a surgeon, but I've chosen not to get that. Surgery can sometimes be a good option for people. But when we talk about what is like decent hip mobility, who are we talking about? And who we are talking about is people in the modern world.
Of course,
we're both active. We're both sitting in a chair right now. I'm going to be sitting in a chair. Well, I was this morning, doing my work with like this. How we live in this modern world isn't exactly normal. Like, for example, it's a little bit different. But for example, like years ago, I was lucky enough to travel around Australia for a year back in 2000, 2001, and I spent a bit of time in Fiji. All right, and the lads there in Fiji, the locals were so friendly, such great guys, but they're all seriously strong. Not a weights room on the island. These guys were just in an amazing shape. But one of the jobs they had, and they could all do it, was to get rid of the coconuts so they don't fall and kill a tourist sitting underneath. Okay,
chop them down.
Chop them down.
Okay.
So how they used to get up, they'd fly up the coconut tree, just holding onto it. They tie sometimes they tie like a material around their feet to help them grip. Sometimes they wouldn't. Some lads didn't need to, but they could put their hands around and then their feet up. You think it's almost like that frog pose, the feet up. Yeah. So
up a tree.
Yeah. So they could climb up, and like it's scary looking. Like they're like, how high were these trees? They're like say a normal house, twice the size of a normal house. Like they're.
Jeez, about.
You fall, you're dead.
Yeah.
So confident.
Pretty good 30 feet into the air.
So their hip mobility, their mobility in general, because they're doing things like this from a young age, because they're walking around barefoot. I walked around barefoot the whole time there. No one wears shoes. It was very active. They'd be. These guys were fishermen as well. Their lifestyle was a lot different. So generally, their hip mobility was different to me having to, or a lot of people have to spend 40 hours at a desk.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So essentially, it's just movement. You got to move that joint in a full range of motion regularly.
Of course.
Okay, use it or lose it.
Yeah.
And then it ties into the lower back.
Definitely. So would your recommendation be for people to start climbing up coconut trees and chopping them down?
Probably no.
Not in this country anyway.
Not in this country. Yeah. But hey, definitely climbing trees more. We used to do that as a lot as kids.
Yeah, big time. But you would need serious strength for that. Just even taking that into consideration, like gripping onto a tree or grip strength, grip your feet as well.
Yeah. Core strength. It's like I tried it.
Yeah. Did you? How did you get on?
Didn't go high. Did
you were able to chop
up
a few
like
down?
a meter?
Yeah.
No, cheapers. I literally wanted to show the technique, but it's like.
Was this before you got into your lifestyle change where you're
well, I was 23 then, so okay. I was even younger than you are now, so it's like a lifetime away,
You had to mention that.
Yeah. You would have been 3.
There we go. That's quite interesting. But you make a good point though, and I've often thought of this, and especially when I came across your work and Brian's as well. I always think, imagine you had a camera that just pointed at your hips for the entire day and looked at the movement of the hip. We sit too much, and it's causing all sort of problems, like hip problems and back problems and everything else. It's like, if you actually had that camera, you know, you sit for work, you sit in the car, you sit when you get home, like your hips are just locked in that position, and you know, all that tension, that build up, I think that can manifest into your body and come out almost in an emotional sense when everything is so tight and rigid.
Yeah, stress can be like, you know, be a factor as well. But yeah, generally, you know, modern humans spend too much time sitting down. Like, it's funny, even things like, I heard in Japan, when the modern toilets came in, that affected hip mobility, because people used to squat down.
Exactly.
You know, once a day at least. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
just
a
deep squat.
Deep squat. That's not done anymore. So, you know, I'm not going to be, you know, fight that battle with my wife. Listen, we're going to get rid of these kind of hole in the ground. But, you know, there's some modern conveniences that are nice, but it is interesting. That's how we used to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
We were squatting down the woods, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great recommendation. Just in to combat against, you know, tight hips, but it's very hard to get people into that position. But that deep squat, it's just going to release maybe a small bit of tension there, and it's very
for some people it might be like
aggravating.
Too far, you know.
Exactly.
It's finding the balance, but that's like a normal resting position for a human.
You mentioned there,
if you're out, like, you know, hunter gathering, for example, as we you know, we've evolved to be hunter gatherers.
Yeah.
You know, maybe a wet ground or even a dry ground with fucking ants and termites or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't want your backside on the ground, so you squat down like this.
And you'd hover above.
Hover above, and you might see. I'd be a, you know, David Attenborough fan, or you might see some like some even now tribes, say the Masai Mara or whatever, and that's you if you're watching them a lot, you'd see them squatting down. It's just kind of a movement, but it's not something that you see. Hey, we're having a business meeting. We're all going to go in. We're going to squat down in a circle and discuss this. You're sitting on a boardroom. You know, you're probably eating too much.
Exactly.
You're overly stressed, and it's not like to say hunter-gatherers weren't stressed. They were. But what I think is interesting is, like, stress back, you know, a few 100,000 years ago, it usually elicited movement. Like, we're moving less. So if you're stressed, you know, you respond by movement.
Yeah, you know, it's almost a release of stress.
But now you can get that stress, you know, when you're feeling your chest, out of an email.
Yeah.
And then when you're done, you're like kind of raging there, and then you're on the M50.
And it's constant as well, isn't it? It's like I think we must be the most highly strung people of all time, because, like you talked about email, you've got the phone, you know, you're in the car.
Yeah, I'd say it would have been stressful, you know, trying to survive and try to get food back then. Like, even like the Irish wolf was hanging around, you know.
I get that, I understand that, but he's not hanging around you 24/7. Is what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean?
It's like, you
and
know,
that is a different form of stress.
We have an easy life at the same time.
We do. No, you're dead right. You're dead right. But trying to combat that stress, is there any techniques you use in particular, apart from movement, that help combat against any stress that you experience in your own life?
Yeah, well, we would, you know, we would like we talk about systems a lot, you know. So it's even like, you know, when Telos, for example, we have a lot of systems. We've learned a lot of systems of various people over the years, and we kind of hopefully refine them and give people the general principles of it,
of course,
and let them go away in it. Like, even if it's like, you know, planning your goddamn week.
Yeah.
You know, when am I training? What am I doing for fun this week? Am I spending time, quality time with my family, with my wife, with my kids?
Yeah.
You know, am I, you know, getting out now and again? It happens less and less as you get older with kids, but am I getting out now and again to see my mates?
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
Or wherever it might be. Am I getting out? So planning the weeks. You know, we have a training which is all about, you know, kind of visualizing and literally planning how you want to live. Yeah. Like, maybe 3 weeks down the line, 2 weeks down the line, is your calendar full? No. We'll start, like, designing that.
Start filling it up. Yeah. Because I think there's more. You use your time better as well. With this aimlessness, because I used to have it before, and then I came across your work, and I know Brian's big on the calendar training, like you are yourself, and it's like, you know, make yourself some level of importance. Have a calendar and put things in there that you need to get done, because even if you don't have a calendar, your week is full of things anyway. Just have it written down and be like, schedule. And then, like you said, you can start almost design your life by having a calendar.
You mentioned there, you need to get done.
Yeah.
Okay, things you need to get done. So what does a human need? What do you need as a human? And we get people coming to us for years as a coach. It's like, and they know they need to exercise more. They need to eat better. They need to improve their knowledge on nutrition. But we also, at the same time, say, listen, I don't have time. You have a lifetime, you know, when you're born to when you die. That's the time you have.
Yeah.
Okay, you tell me you don't have time to take physical care of your one and only body. Is that what you're saying? You know? Like, that's what people are saying.
That phrase, I don't have time, is a limiting belief, because it's like you said, you need it.
But
you need to get
talk
past
about well, why not? Because you put everything ahead of yourself. You put your work, you put TV, you put
you're not putting things in priority.
Yeah. And you don't need huge time. You know, it depends. If you want to be like a bodybuilder at a high level, or you know, you want to get really proficient at the rings or whatever, you probably need 4 to 6 hours training. Yeah. But for the average, you know, I talk to my friends who are, you know, are maybe they're not into training as much, but some of them are like doing a couple of two sessions a week in the gym. Perfect. Like, I was kind of thinking I've thought about this before because I've done it before. Yeah. If you could have like 2 strength sessions a week, 2 hours. Yeah. And a little bit, you know, working on mobility, another like 10, 15 minutes a day.
You've been great, Nick.
And if that's intelligent, you know, and specific to you, that is like a kind of, I see that as a base to promote longevity. So when you're, I'm 46, when you're 46, 56, 66, whatever, you're moving well and you're not like in pain and all the rest of it.
Because that's the thing, it is. Like, I think that's what working out and mobility is all about. It is, like you mentioned that word, longevity. It's about the long term. You know, you're looking, but it's also about how you feel in the present as well. Yeah. I think that's a massive part. It's like a byproduct of doing all this training is that you look and feel good, and then you're just a better person to be around. You feel better in yourself. Your confidence grows. Your self-esteem develops, and you're a better person for it, definitely. So, what was your own journey into the movement scene and mobility like, and how did it happen?
Yeah, well, I suppose I'd have to go way back, and I suppose as a kid I was like, and it was probably different. Of course, things change, but like growing up in the 80s, I was born in 77, so, you know, growing up in the 80s, I was very active as a kid. You know, I loved myself and my brother on our bikes. You know, the old man made us a ramp. I remember seeing it a few years ago, and the fact, it's not like a little 5-degree guy. It was massive. Yeah. And
we're talking about 40 degrees.
Yeah, it was it was steep. 35 anyway. Yeah. But I remember there was builders once on our road doing up a house, and we were there with the ramp, and they're coming to have lessons. They'd line on the ground behind the ramp, and I won't say there were 5 or 6 of them, and we're flying down
over them. They were lying
over them. Yeah, I would have crack with them, you know. But like, you know, climbing trees. I played rugby from around 10 to about 17. Yeah, I mean, how fun was that? You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
So like, you know, I did a bit of athletics in school. I was fast. You know, I played rugby, played in the wing, played a bit of scrum half centre, but like, yeah, I would have been, you know, on the athletics team, on the relay team or something. So like, I mean,
you're very active.
I was saying I loved movement, you know, whatever. I loved training. I loved that PE is my favorite thing. Yeah, you know what I mean?
I think it's just the enjoyment of using your body.
Yeah, well, not everyone's like that, you know, and that's cool.
That's true.
That's cool, but I suppose, like, I can't say, well, I started hitting. It started way back then, and I do, you know, I thought about it since. I do think the likes of playing rugby, climbing trees, because the school we were in had I'm not sure if they're allowed to climb trees there now. Maybe they are.
Probably not.
But like, some of the stuff we did, it was fucking dangerous. Yeah, do you know what I mean? So that's as a kid, I see that as beneficial because you're dealing with fear, risk, and all the rest of it. And climbing is such a great thing because you're solving problems like with your mind.
It's a calculation, isn't it?
So it's a great way to train the brain. You know, move to learn to move is something that I came up with a while ago. I'm sure someone else has, but it kind of makes sense to me. Yeah. So that's where it started. And then I loved the rugby. Bore everybody to tears talking about rugby when I was a kid, you know. Yeah. But I got a few injuries. Like, I dislocated both my shoulders. So I remember dislocating one. I think fifth year was, and I trained over summer. I wanted to get in the senior cup team, you know. Yeah. And then I dislocated the other one a couple of games in, and then they'd just come out very easily. Like, the younger you do it,
it just pops more.
Basically, the ligaments become more elastic. The elasticity increases.
Yeah.
So there's calculation there, but essentially you're about 90% chance of doing it again.
Oh, really?
When you dislocate them young.
And how long do you have to wait after a dislocated shoulder? Is it?
Well, I'm not sure. Like I was in a sling for about 6 weeks, and then I remember the first, then you're only lifting your arm to the air. So it's a bit of a rehab from it. It depends now. It might be quicker now. That's a long time ago. So then I got surgeries, but then it was like surgeries weren't for I think I got one surgery when I was 18. That was tough. It was like I remember the pain of it.
The actual surgery. Or
I went in very naive.
Yeah.
I thought, they'll give me some painkillers, wake up and it'd be grand.
Yeah.
And I woke up and Jesus, the pain it's just brutal.
And what sort of surgery was it for your shoulder?
Well, they cut down. They cut down all the way down here, and they cut into the ligaments. And essentially, what they're doing is they're slicing the ligaments that have become loose.
Yeah.
And then they're sewing them back tighter.
Oof.
So range of motion is actually restricted.
Limited, yeah, big time.
Yeah. Now, I can do pretty much anything with the shoulders now, but that's what it does.
And did that bring an end to your rugby career?
Well, potentially I could have got back playing, but I never did. I kind of went off to college then, and then there was a bit of started the party scene.
Yeah, of course, you're at that age,
and what have you. And through my 20s, I didn't do an awful lot of training. Fits and starts. Yeah, till I got to about 30, where I started surfing. But by that time, I was working, in an office, etc. I started surfing, but I wasn't doing that very regularly. And then probably I think I was about mid-30s, probably about 34, 35. I remember going down for a surf. Conditions were amazing. West Coast of Ireland, I didn't appreciate it then. I think a lot of people who don't surf don't appreciate it, but it's one of the best places in the world to surf when it's on, But anyway, this one particular day, I still remember it, and I couldn't catch a wave. I couldn't buy a wave. I was just too weak, too unfit, lack of mobility. I came back in, my back was spasming.
You're rigid.
I was just beaten, defeated.
Yeah.
And that's actually, I remember saying, F this, I'm getting fit, I'm getting strong. This isn't going to happen again, and I'm going to change. So I made a decision there, went to see a PT, booked in him for a year. Yeah. 2 sessions a week for a year, £400 a month. I put my money where my mouth is. Yeah. And
a great investment.
That was a catalyst that literally changed my life.
Wow, that's interesting. And from there, I'm guessing you obviously went on to do courses to be where you are now.
I remember about 2 months in, I was like, geez, I could do this. Yeah, I like this.
Yeah. Was that the instigator going to a personal trainer that you thought in your own head, I could see this as a possible career?
I could do what this guy's doing.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. And so, I stuck with him for a year, and I learned a lot off him. And then, I went and did various courses, whether it was personal training qualification, Pilates, and loads of other courses since. Yeah. And you've done many courses over the year. There's one I want to touch on because I know you've done it from, I must have done them mobility routines that you have on your Instagram page for a year and a half. Religiously straight. And there's one for I think it's wrist mobility, and you're basically bending your wrist backwards. Okay, yes. But you mentioned I do. You picked it up from Ido Portal. That's right. A master of movement, and I think a big reason why McGregor had so much success when he's coming up in the UFC around that time before he fought Jose Aldo. What was that like, that course that you done with Ido Portal? Did it change much about how you trained yourself or moved, or because it's a... Yeah, I probably did a few courses before that. I think we can learn off so many different people. And you mentioned someone there. You mentioned Conor McGregor, who, he had him. But look at the other people he's worked with from, what's the mindset coach, the big tall guy? Tony Robbins? Yes. Yeah. He has a Pat Sutcliffe, the boxing coach. Obviously... John Kavanagh, and a lot of other people. So like you can see him; he's learned off a lot of other people. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'm sure he has. I'm not saying this predominantly just Ido Portal. Yes. At the time, but Ido Portal was. Ido Portal did a course here in Dublin a few years ago in Trinity. Yeah, and it was a 2-day course. 100%. Listen, I've watched there's documentaries that are available online. Saw what he's doing, cool stuff. Yeah. And then obviously he was blown up. He was getting big around then, was he? With McGregor, I think that really grew his profile. But he has a cult-like following. Certainly I got a lot out of that seminar. Yeah. And what it was, I suppose, it's it's like that saying, I think it was Socrates that said, I can't educate any man, I can only make them think.
Yeah.
So Ido's, whilst we learned techniques, it was just a thought-provoking. That's what I found about it. And it was thought-provoking, and it was like very interesting. So yeah, that's definitely one kind of little flavor in there of influence. But there's been many more as well.
My next question was going to lead into, is there any other courses that stand out in your own mind that you've done that have had impact on your training? I'm sure you've done many courses.
Well, I think like if I can, I'll mention a few. Then let me see. Like I remember, like I have these in 2011. I bought these like adjustable dumbbells. Yeah. Right, and I wasn't that strong in 2011. Yeah. And they go up to 32.5 kg each side. So that's what 64.
Yeah.
Yeah. 32 and a half.
Oh, sorry, 65. Didn't hear the half.
I have a maths off question here. So I remember struggling to get them at the time. I put them in a bedroom upstairs, struggling to get them up the stairs. But I remember at the time, I'd been doing some personal training for the year before, and I was, did a few courses from Athletics.
Oh, very good.
Jeff Cavalier.
So
everyone knows, that's back when he was in his cheaper basement, when the production wasn't. But, I think that was, now, I learned a lot with the coach I was going to, Kieran Foy, who's in swords. He's like, and he would have been very well educated. He would have done, a lot of his stuff would have been, strength sensei. What's his name? Fails me now. Strength sensei.
Is he based in Ireland?
No, he's actually passed away now, but he was really well known. Charles Poliquin.
Oh yeah.
So there would have been an influence of that. Then Athletics, I just got to like Jeff because I was training on my own. Yeah. And you're listening to him, and I was getting into it. And
it's almost like he's coaching you. Yeah.
Inspiring. So I got that. But then I needed some movement. I was still having I had my injury issues. The shoulders, 2 dislocations. 2 surgeries, scar tissue, posture. That had an effect. The hip issue, I didn't know about them, but that one part of it is like kind of something I've had for a long time. So I had some mobility concerns. So I did need to go more mobility, more movement. I needed to search and find answers there. Yeah. And one of them was definitely functional range conditioning. There's a Dr. Andrea Spina of functional range conditioning, FRC. We've done a couple of courses with him. Yeah. Excellent. Really, again, thought provoking. Yeah. He was a kind of, just extremely intelligent guy. Like, he's world renowned musculoskeletal expert, but he trains. Do you know what I mean? He's martial arts is a thing. Really full splits and all the rest of this. So he developed a system just based on the literature how to improve your mobility. Now it's not the only way of doing things, but it's excellent. So that was really good.
Is this where you develop all of your own practices from, or being inspired by?
Well, we basically, how I learn is like, you can sit down and read a book. It's cool, and that's what we did and watch his lectures. It was cool. It was actually doing the stuff. You've done all those hip sessions we're talking about. Yeah. So you can watch it once and you get the gist of it, but it's only through doing it.
Oh, gee, what the fuck are you doing watching routine if not doing the routine? You know what I mean? That's where you get the benefit from it.
But it's the doing. And sometimes people are looking and it's like reps, man. Yeah. Keep doing your reps, whatever it is. Keep doing your reps. Figure that stuff out. You've asked the questions. That's cool. That's how to do it. You have to figure a bit out yourself. Like GMB. Do you know GMB?
No, you mentioned it before. I haven't heard of it. Yeah.
Ryan Hurst and Jarlo. I forget Jarlo's surname. It's kind of hard to pronounce. Yeah. But he, like, these guys, I did them kind of. I was doing your typical push-pull legs or whatever it might be with Athletics and previously. Yeah. I wanted something different then. So it was GMB and they were doing this kind of cool animal style movement.
Oh, I love animal flow work. Yeah.
They do other stuff as well. Like Ryan Hurst would be, a proficient on the rings. So that's where I started rings training.
That's where you picked that up from.
Yeah. And then there was parallettes. And it was just their thought process. Yeah. I just loved.
And it's like a different form of training as well.
Yeah. And for some people, they just love, say a bodybuilder in the gym, lifting
those weights.
Yeah. They just love weights and they'll do that for 50 years. They'll do it all their life and that's cool. For me, I like a bit of variety. Like I'll go to the gym and do my deadlifts and squats and pull-ups and pull your typical exercise. I do need a bit of mobility, movement stuff sprinkled in to keep the body ticking over. I think that's what a lot of people miss.
Yeah, keeping the joints hydrated as well. That's a big thing. That's what motion is lotion. I love that phrase. It's very true. If you don't move it, how can you get any fluid or whatever the joint needs? You need to move to keep it healthy.
Yeah, but then I love the kind of the play aspect GMB talked about, Ido talks about as well, like, you know, doing cartwheels, for example.
It's just fun though, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's good for the brain as well. You know?
It is.
Learning.
It's mental stimulation.
Yeah.
Like you can just do bicep curls all day. Yeah. Your body recognizes that pattern and will do it over and over and over again. Where you are playing like in that animal flow state, or even playing like a small game. I love them videos that Ido does, and it's all like they're two people standing together and they're moving back and forth and they're trying to avoid each other, or they're playing with a tennis ball. It's just it's creative. It's a creative way of training.
Yes, and how he describes that was like so some of those things with the dowel.
With the dowel
or whatever. We did loads there on the thing, but he would describe some of them, for example, as movement practice.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm doing a pull up there, I'm practicing a movement.
Yeah.
I know what a pull up is. I'll grip and I'll exhale.
You'll do it all day.
So but like it's almost movement practice, like boxing. So it's to be intuitive, so you can develop that skill. You know of.
Interesting.
Yeah, think about like if we're giving a sporting example, something you see someone doing something instinctively. Like I don't know what year it was, but Messi comes to mind.
Yeah,
right?
I was actually in a footballer as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so he doesn't score many headers.
No.
Do you remember a header he scored in a
Rome?
Final?
In Rome. It was in Rome 2009. That was go 2-0 up against United.
He's looking backwards and
that was an amazing goal.
So that's instinctive. It's not like he's taking a free kick and he knows he's going to curl it over that thing, which is, you know, he's practiced that a million times. Yeah. How many times have you practiced that header?
That was an amazing goal.
Will you pass that ball and so I'm going backwards and I can hit it that way? It was just instinctive. So that's where.
And you're saying he's trained for that, or he's not trained for that? It just happened.
It happened because of all and he was able to execute it because of all the practice he's done from a kid.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we can be very like.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm kind of looking at my program now. Like we have a lot of practice and movements when I'm programming. Can we elicit something that is a bit more play, where it's not premeditated, it's a bit more reacting. So there's now surf, for example.
Yeah, you had to mention the surf.
You have, but that, for example, or you playing football or whatever it might be. So there's so much. But if we can be learning skills and kind of, I talk about movement diet. If you can look at that, so it's varied. It's not just like, you know,
weights.
Listen, whatever you want to just do, push pull legs all your life.
Each to their own as well. Each to their own. Exactly. Yeah. No, I like that, and I think that's probably where I picked that up as well, is from the work that you and Brian have done in Movement101, is introducing to the rings. And I'm like, this is fun, you know, it's different. It's a different way of moving. And like, it's tough. It's definitely, I'm not saying it's easy at all, but it's like, you know, even from like even a joint perspective, doing like a skin the cat or whatever the exercises be, it's like, you're not going to get this, like, it's a fluidity, which I like about it. And it's just a difference. And then you touched on the word play as well. I think that's a really important aspect to have in your training, or to have in your movement diet, because play is interesting in the sense that it just releases this like inner child that's within us all. How do you incorporate play into your own training, or is that something that you do? Is that what you touched on in when you said play?
Yeah. And like the rings are interesting. Like you know, if I think of a flow, maybe you go do a muscle up. You know, muscle up.
I haven't got there yet.
Okay, it was just technique, because you're strong enough, you know. Well, you do a muscle up, and then you might go into a dip.
Yeah.
And a skin to cat. So it's a bit of I mean, you know, I know I can do a bit in the rings, but you go on YouTube and see the lads in Olympics, like it's unbelievable. But that's what the human body is capable of.
Exactly. Now, but that's dedication and severe training.
Yes, absolutely. So. But what I'm saying is, like, it's hard to replicate. I would say almost impossible to replicate.
2 seconds, right?
Got a fire here.
Yeah, we got a fire hazard now. I wasn't expecting to load up that quick. Sorry.
You're cool. That's incense smoke, by the way.
No weed smoke. No weed smoke in here. Okay, sorry, the fire hazard now has evaded us.
Yeah, so with the rings, you know, again, I can do a little bit on the rings, like you know, and I'm happy with that. I don't want to be it'd be nice to do what those lads do, but that's a different level.
Yeah.
But how can you can't really replicate. Again, I had the shoulder issues, you know. So I remember seeing the rings. I bought the rings as a bit of a what would you call it? An impulse buy.
Yeah.
I was in. I don't know if you've ever been to D8 Fitness shop in town.
No,
it's cool. It's a cool shop. They have some great equipment, you know, like a kid in a candy shop.
Is it still there now?
Yeah.
I
have an online shop, but anyway, I bought my rings in there. I went in to get something else, and I got my something else, and I looked at the rings, and I was like, yeah, I always liked watching the rings as a kid, you know, the lads in Olympics, and I was like, should I get them? I was hemming and hawing, like they're, you know, probably 60 quid at the time. I wasn't flush with cash, and I was like, well, I've disclared about my shoulders, you know. I'm thinking about the skin the cat. I was disclared about my shoulders. I'm 39. I'm probably a bit too old for buying them. And then I've always in my head, F that, buy the fucking things.
Yeah.
So I bought them. I was playing around with them, and then I found a course to do, and it was one of the great, you know, I still have them, you know, 7 years later. So it was one of the best decisions.
It's a great investment, isn't it? I think they're even cheaper now. They're about 40 quid.
How can you replicate? And I remember thinking, from going from the weights to the rings, like, oh shit, but I don't lose all my gains.
Yeah.
It's just a stupid thought.
It's crazy.
But it's interesting because we can do that. But yeah, it's class because it is play. There is a bit of flow, and it's hard to replicate what we can do in the rings with like your typical strength training.
I don't think you can, and the reason why I say that is because they're so engaging. Like if you lift a barbell, it's a fixed grip. Where you lift the rings, you've got this, it's loose. There's nothing.
Instability, I think.
It's the instability, yeah. But
like
that makes you stronger.
If you're in a plank on them, just that, like, it's always, that's what Ido talks about it. It's always, if you're doing a plank, you're never going to get it dead still. You see those guys doing the, what's it called, levers and stuff like that?
Front levers, yeah. Oh my God, it's so impressive.
And planches.
Planches, yeah.
So as strong as they are, you'll see them, there's always a tiny little shake, and that is going, that's the trying to find a weak area.
Yeah, and it's the muscle engaged the whole time. Which is just, there's something else. Yeah, rings are a big fan of the rings. Bought many programs off you, and that was one of them as well. Just wanted to touch on your own transformation you're doing, Rob, because it was something else. I think it was maybe 35, and then I can't remember when the photo was in particular.
Okay, yeah.
But it was quite interesting to see just, you know, how much someone can change in themselves, like from a muscular sense, you know. I'm guessing you probably felt much better about yourself when you're in that after phase of the photo. Discipline is obviously it's a massive factor in achieving anything in life, and I'm guessing you had to become very disciplined to get in the shape that you were, like anyone does, and a lot of people, I think everyone admires when someone's in great nick, in great shape. Why is discipline such a big factor in transforming yourself, would you say? Yeah,
well, I'd say honestly it wasn't, if I talk about how many sessions I did, initially it was a change, all right. So it's going from
significant change.
Yeah. But like 168 hours in a week. That first year, and this I think a mistake people made. And I got some good advice on that, of course. But like I went from doing no training to 2 full body sessions a week.
Yeah.
Which took about an hour. So that's only 2 hours a week. Could I have done more in that first year? Potentially, yes, but it made it manageable. Yeah. Right? And there would have been, I would have missed one here or there, and I'm on holidays, coaching on holidays. Yeah. So let's say 52 weeks in a year, that's 104 sessions. It's probably like maybe 90 sessions in the year. Yeah. Okay, so that's 90 hours. How many hours are in a year? You know, there's 168 hours in a week. Okay, so no, we don't do the maths. It
won't be happening with the maths.
But what I'm saying is, like, how disciplined do I have to be to do that? And it had to be organized. I think the big thing was the money. And I remember him saying, so I was talking to another guy who this coach was renting, you know, a room off or whatever, and he was like, it's 50 quid a session, 2 sessions, 100 quid a week. I was like, 100 quid a week, 400 quid a month, and like, but he said to me, this is what you need, and he's fucking dead right. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, well, can I afford that? And I was looking I'd probably spend that in booze, to be honest with you. So while I needed to be disciplined, I had got to a point where I was weak, unfit, in pain, felt old, low energy, lethargic, depressed. You know, I know I was like clinically depressed. I don't know, but I was definitely, my mood was low.
Low, yeah.
And one of my joys was surfing that I wasn't very good at.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that because of the physical condition I was in.
So it's all correlated to how your body was.
Well, yeah, and it's like, and it's like, it's my lifestyle. So it's like, I just knew I needed to change something. So, So I had my why. So I don't think initially I had to be that disciplined. Now, you know, doing say 4 sessions a week, maybe a swim and mobility most days, it's just habit.
Yeah.
But you start small. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be drastic change. Yeah. It's what they talk about in Atomic Habits. Those 2 pictures, it's a small change of trajectory. Yeah. And that small change of trajectory, when you look at a picture 5 years apart, seems massive. It's crazy. But it's only a small improvement, you know? Yeah.
So start small. But isn't
it
crazy?
Manageable.
Start
now listen,
manageable.
you still have to do it.
Yeah. And isn't it crazy just the correlation between where you were before you got started to where you are now, where you're feeling much more confident in yourself, you know, you're moving freely, you know, you've got muscle mass, you probably think clear and better, you move quicker, etc., etc. It's like chalk and cheese. There's such a difference there.
There is, and I'm surfing a lot better, but like what you'll find is you want more. And we talk about expanding your vision, you know. Like throughout that time, I can remember telling myself one thing and then like, I'll be happy when. Yeah. And you know, I didn't mean but I remember like in the gym going, you know, when I can dumbbell bench press holding the 2 15 kgs in each hand, I'll be happy. Yeah. Guess what? I got there. I was like, okay, 20s. Yeah. 25s, 30s. So you always want that bit more. Same with the surfing. Listen, when I can catch waves consistently and just stand up, I'll be happy, not fall off everyone. Then it's like, okay, if I can do that on a smaller board, okay, if I can start doing turns and stuff, and you always want more.
But I think that's just how we're wired, though. Like, if we were satisfied when you got to the 15, what are you going to do? Start regressing back?
But I think that's like the thing with vision. You don't need to work out where you're going to be in 20 years. Some people have that vision, but start with one thing, climb one peak, and something else will come into view that you just couldn't visualize previously.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, very much so. That was well said. Yeah, definitely so. An interesting part of mobility I've heard you talk many times before is understanding the nervous system and how that basically correlates to movement along with kind of just the health of your spine. I've heard you know, over the last year and a half, if not 2 years, mention it many times. Why does the nervous system play such a big role in how we move? And, you know, it kind of just maps our way of movement as well.
Yeah, you know, and I'm not like some sort of PhD, you know, biology, human physiology.
You have a good understanding of it.
I suppose I understand it at my level.
Yeah.
You know, so
which is more advanced than.
Well, when you say the nervous system, what other system can we talk about? Endocrine system. Yeah. Muscular system. Yeah. Skeletal system. Yeah. Here's the thing: it's all one system. Yeah. Okay.
They're all feeding into each other.
At our human, you know, at our basic understanding, you know, when we did biology in school, they can't teach it all at the same time. Of course. So we layer it. Yeah. Skeletal system, muscular system. Now, obviously, they're different. They're different in ways. Yeah. But like the muscular system and the nervous system work in tandem. And they can't really work, you know.
Opposite one another.
If you like, the unfortunate thing about, you know, say paralysis, for example, you know, the nervous system, then the muscles don't work. Yeah. So yeah, I suppose I spoke about that just from my understanding, and like,
because that picture that sticks out in my mind, I've seen you share many a times, and it's just basically the nervous system, and you just see it. It looks incredible, but what it is that I see it as is like, it's just a way for your body to communicate with itself.
Yes, very good. Perfect.
And that's like, because I've heard you. I think I've definitely picked it up from yourself, but it's like the way you move is then mapped neurologically. Yes. So if you move a certain way that your body doesn't recognize, and it shuts that off, it says no, you can't move that. Not necessarily. Well, yeah, it shuts it off, and it's like it doesn't recognize that pattern. Yeah. So it's almost like pattern. The nervous system is like pattern recognition in how you move. Yeah. But that picture just. Yeah, it always stands out in the forefront of my mind.
These dudes that Hicks was one of the guys' names, but they literally spent 1,500 hours dissecting a human body, a dead human body. What was it? I forget the name. What you call them? Cavalier, not Cavalier. But anyway, they dissected dissected a human body, it'll come to me, and took out the nervous system. Like it's an incredible,
Imagine how
incredible
delicate you have
feat.
to be.
Yeah. But yeah, like it's interesting. Like there is, that mapping is interesting. So how is movement elicited? Sometimes you touch a hot stove, that's not your brain saying take that away. It actually bypasses that, so the nerves feel it in the spinal cord, and it's reached away before the signal even gets to the brain. So the spinal cord actually can, when you think about it, think, right, which is weird. But like my brain might say, okay, I'm gonna move my finger here, and I talk about the spine, but movement you described as communication there, the nervous system communicating. Yes, your brain might tell you to move your spine, but also receives feedback back. So it's a two-way street.
How it feels.
Well, it's just receiving and how it moves is a condition. So how it was explained to me, or how I understood it over various lectures over the years, is by moving, and you see me doing the spine segmentation, for example, by doing that, my brain is becoming more aware of the condition of my spine,
which is incredible.
It's learning about it. Now,
I think
if I think, I want to give this other example before I forget.
Yeah, go for it.
I wish I had this saved, but I saw this post on social media a good few years ago, and there's this guy in, I'm not sure where he was. Could have been Turkey. I'm thinking, but it doesn't matter. But he was mending shoes, and he had a little hammer and a little saw, and he had no arms. Okay.
Wow.
So he's picking up the hammer and the saw with his feet.
Yeah.
And he's using his feet like hands.
Yeah.
Like they were just as dexterity of his feet were just like hands. And the reason he can do that, right, is because he's been doing it all his life. He had to kind of cope with that.
Yeah.
So there's an area of his brain and that is dedicated towards that from practice that is just developed, and he can do it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's practice. That's the skill.
It's the repetition of it.
Yeah. So that's hopefully one example of how what we're capable of doing.
Yeah.
You know? And I found it very interesting.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the main things I've taken away from the work that you've done and the routines that I've done religiously. Like I said, nearly fucking every day. I just got obsessed with doing it at one stage.
Okay. Yeah.
Is that brain body connection and building that bodily awareness of, I have a spine and I can move it this way, and I'm now doing cat cow and I'm moving this spine in a lateral plane of motion, and I'm moving like a skipping rope up and around and down. It's like this incredible feeling of like, I have this body. That sounds crazy because everyone's walking around.
I can relate because I was the same.
I had no awareness of it. I go, jeez, I know I feel amazing. And my mom, I remember because I was living in Scotland at the time when I picked up the habit of doing the routine. I came back home. She goes, your posture's better because as a tall guy, I used to lean forward, fucking text neck looking down all the time like that.
Looking down at people like me.
And now I'm moving it in different ways, and like I move better. If you can say better as a word.
I feel like I know exactly what you're talking about because I was the same. And again, I think it was Dr. Andrew Spina asked, how often, and this we ask clients this, like how often do you move your spine at full range of motion? And back when I was having back pain, it was like, no one said this to me.
No.
I was going to, and I'm not criticizing, I still go to some really good physios.
Yeah.
Well, one in particular that I have, I kind of look at it as a team member now for myself.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But when I was going to chiropractors and other therapists at that time with back pain, none of them were saying, listen, dude, you're sitting at a desk all day, you're never moving your spine, you're weak, you're stressed out. You need some movement. I can rub you and click you and whatever, and you'll feel better for a day or two. Yeah. But unless you start actually doing
moving.
something, none of them said that.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Spina, and then it's like, right. So what we try to say with people with back pain is, look at spinal movement as a skill. Yeah. Get more skilled in it. Yeah. Then your brain is building up this knowledge, because pain can be like an alarm. And I know. You hear there's a fire alarm in the gym I was in yesterday. No one moved. Everybody knew it was a false alarm. Okay, yeah. But often that pain can be a false alarm. But people freak out. Okay, just must be something wrong. But we can educate our own brain about the condition of our body through movement. So that's what I see that spine, that movement, for example. okay?
Yeah, of course.
So I'll have a bit of stiffness, but like, listen, I know I can flex and extend and rotate. I know that's in pretty good condition. Bit of stiffness, that's going to go away.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like convincing the brain to turn off that pain output.
You've now got like this own, you've created your own like self manual for your body and brain. It's like, and I know what you mean there. Like if you've got a niggle, you know how to get rid of it now. Where before it's like, oh Jesus, that pain and
you
never
can
moving.
catastrophize because you don't know.
Big time,
you think like, and I hurt my back there. I was, like,
you were saying that, yeah.
I mean, it's just a little twinge. I was, and
and it happens.
It happens.
It happens, yeah.
So I was doing some of the parallettes and just the way I got up and I was fatigued, a little twinge, and I knew what I needed to do.
Yeah.
Whereas I've talked to people who says, "Oh, the back's gone." And like I understand it because they don't know. I said, "What do you mean it's gone?" It's just gone. Where is it gone? Are you just a head and legs there? You know what I mean? But through movement, it what has gone, something like a little muscle twinge or whatever, and very often, like I know what's happened there. You look down the Gallagher apparatus and the stretch reflex and all the rest of it. What's happened? It's like you sprain your ankle; it will be sore because that's protecting you.
Yeah.
So I kind of know the mechanics of what happens, how it works out. So I know I can get some breathing done, get the hips moving, moving a larger brain. My largest pain-free range of motion. Do that regularly, and my brain is like, because my brain initially like, hey, that's alarm. Yeah. This is bad. Yeah. Pain. And we can hold on to that longer than we need to. Now my brain's like, okay, all right, we're all right. You can move, just take it easy.
Yeah.
So yes, it doesn't mean you can have movement after your fucking name on Instagram. It doesn't mean we're not going to get injured. Aches and pains going forward.
You're still human at the end of the day.
Exactly.
That's
it. And I've said it pain free. Like who walks around pain free all the time? I mean, pain has a purpose, and. I would say I think leprosy is one thing where you don't feel pain, so you put your hand on a stove or something, and that's part of the issue. So it has a purpose. Like pain free, we're going to have a few niggles. Listen, I'm 46. I train in the gym 4 days, generally 4 days a week. Try to get a swim. Yeah. My sport is surfing. I live in the East Coast. There's all the surfs on the West Coast. So when I get up at 5 a.m., spend 2.5, 3 hours driving down for a surf. Yeah. Surf for 3 hours. Sometimes I go 2-hour surfs, drive back up. I'm in the car 7 hours. I've surfed for 3 hours. I'll be a bit stiff and whatever. I'm not jumping out of the car like a fucking 10-year-old. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But I do the movement in the morning. I warm up before the surf. Might do a cool down. When I come back, I'll do a little bit of spine movement. I wake up the next day. I'll be tired. Might be a bit stiff, but...
if you did,
I can manage it. I can manage it. You know what I mean?
And you have that awareness to manage it as well, which is really important.
Yeah, and like there's always news. You mentioned that routine. Like in some instances, yes, you're going to get benefit from doing things like that regularly over a long period. Yeah. But what I'm finding myself is finding new stimulus. Like I've been doing some. I mentioned Eldoa, for example.
I was going to touch on it. I was going to say what movement practice are you doing now?
Yeah, is that Eldoa? I've learned a bit of Eldoa fascial release stuff, fascial stretching stuff. So it's just like when I find a new methodology, my body's like, hey, this is a new stimulus. I like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you need that variety to keep yourself engaged.
It's just I do, the classic car example. Let's say you only had one car and it's going to last you forever. Are you going to take care of that car,
Big time, yeah.
So you could look at a human body like that, except it's way more complex. Yeah. So there's way more different things. Now you have to stick a methodology for long enough to understand and get a response. But how I see myself going forward, I'm going to be learning new little kind of techniques all the time to implement into the training. Whilst also we're still going to be doing, like if you think about it, the major push pull, squats, core stuff, rotation of ball and socket joints, etc.
And what's kind of the principles or what are the movements behind Eldoa?
Oh well, it's just like there's check it out online for anyone listening. But there is a guy who it's a French acronym. Okay. Yeah. No, I can't remember the French of it, right? But essentially what it is manipulating the body in such a way through fascia and positions. So fascia is it's a connective tissue, and that it's kind of focused on the spine. It is focused on the spine, but it benefits other areas, and it does work for other areas. And I'm not a complete expert on it, but essentially what we're doing is we're manipulating the fascia so we can draw vertebrae apart. Okay, this is one aspect of it. Draw vertebrae apart actively. So it's given the discs a chance then to, when they're not compressed, okay, they're decompressed, and then they can absorb water, they can rehydrate. So stuff like bulging discs or other issues are improved. Okay. But at the same time, we're strengthening our postural muscles. Like, for example, I was talking about moving your joints through their full range of motion regularly. Okay. So we ask, how often do you move your spine through its full range of motion? Okay. So with certain exercises you've done, we can do them. But what's the tallest? You know, people say stand tall. Well, what this is doing is essentially getting your spine to be as tall or as elongated as possible.
You're trying to lengthen it out.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And you can like literally target different L4, L5, L5, S1 all the way up to, you can target every individual vertebrae.
And what sort of practices are you doing? Is there anything in particular?
It's positions, like, you know, there'll be certain positions you're doing where you're holding your arms. You might be holding your arms up over head, you might be doing something lower body, like they're complicated, so they're not, you know, when I'm teaching them, I'm kind of still learning them myself. Like it's like a skill. If those who are dedicated can spend a bit of time learning, you know, but potentially they're complicated, so you'd want a bit of training kind of knowledge
background before. Of course.
But there's various different ones. Some of them might look very similar to some exercise. You might be lying against the wall with your kind of sit bones against the wall, feet up in the air, internal rotation of the hips. See, you almost have to see it. But then my hands up overhead, so I'm basically sitting in an L position.
Wow.
But like, again, it's complicated. You kind of have to see it. But it was developed by, what's this guy's name? Guy Voyer. Okay, and so Voyer pose is one of them. French guy, and he isn't a physiotherapist. He's again a musculoskeletal expert. What's the other one? Osteopath. Okay, he's an osteopath. And it's excellent, you know. And that's just one. Like, there's loads out there I've never even heard of. Do you know what I'm saying? But that's a nice technique, and that's gonna, like, for example, I want to get proficient at that myself, and this is how I learn. I can study the videos and read the books, but it's actually doing it.
Doing the practice.
Doing the practice. And then, if I like, we have loads of tools in the toolbox, and if we have a client or clients say, hey, I think this will suit you. Teach them, and then they're empowered and they can bring that away, you know.
There you go. Yeah, that's what it's all about. What would you say the average person is kind of sleeping on in regards to maybe their training or their mobility? Is there one thing in particular that kind of like sticks out in your own mind, like they could be doing more of this to get better result, or is it just come back to, you know, motion is lotion, just do the practice of actually doing it?
Yeah, well, I think it's like, you know, well, I was just discussing this with a couple of our coaches there in Movement101, you know, a couple of coaches work with us. And it's like, we do take the holistic approach. I think that holistic is kind of bandied about a lot, you know.
That word.
Yes.
Yeah, of course,
And by
it's been tarnished now at this stage, hasn't it? Because it's been overused.
So I could give like someone, and this, you know, potentially, I could give someone like a really good program. But if you're not getting enough sleep, you know, we have a nutritionist, John Toohey, for example, work with us. If you're not getting enough protein, then you're not getting the building blocks for growth and repair. If you're dehydrated, you just had a drink of water there, you reminded me. Muscles are what? Depends on where you read, 75% water, for example.
Exactly,
So if you're stretching and you're dehydrated, what kind of effect that's going to have?
Big time,
So even literally, and I think there's a study there in the States that 70 to 80% of Americans were chronically dehydrated. So is there a point in stretching when you're dehydrated? How about just hydrating?
Exactly. If there's like a hierarchy, get this right first.
How is your sleep? So all of these things come into play. You know, so what are people sleeping on? Probably not sleeping enough. But if you can, what we try to do is just kind of like, you know, plan your weeks, reflect on your weeks, and kind of raise awareness around this. I think one thing that we look at, I think the protein, for example. People are training and they're not getting enough protein and they're injured. And you don't often relate the injury to lack of protein. But if protein is for growth and repair, you're training in a gym, you're not getting enough, injury's going to occur.
That's why it's so
Throw in
essential.
some dehydration, lack of sleep, stress,
Yeah.
and then too much volume, trying too hard in the gym,
Yeah.
all of these things. So it's trying to get that balance. So there's a lot of, you said the one or two things. There's a lot of
Moving parts.
Yeah, moving parts or dials on the
On the switchboard. Yeah.
On the switchboard. There's a lot of dials here to think. We're trying to look for balance. Who's gonna? So what are the biggies?
Yeah.
And for what we do is this is your biggie, right? You think it's, hey, I need to go on a diet. No, you don't need to go on a diet. What's going to benefit you is if you get your bloody protein up.
Yeah.
Because then you're more satiated on less food.
Exactly.
And you're less likely to overeat. Okay. So stuff like that. So it's kind of, I don't want to say one thing because people go and do that. Have a look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Right. And then.
This is all individualized, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. You can't just, I suppose it's very hard to generalize.
Yeah. But when you look at the average, what are we looking at? The average person, hard to know. I think definitely hydration and protein is a good starting point. Sleep, and then your training.
Yeah.
Are you doing too much? Are you doing too little?
How's your body feel? Yeah. But movement, I just feel like movement can now be a thing for me now that I have a bit of experience with it. It's just any part of the day can consist of just get down and do a bit of movement. It doesn't have to be this practice anymore. Like I talked about having a routine at one stage, which served me very well. Now it's just do a bit of hanging or grab even the bands there and start doing a bit of shoulder work, or if I'm just sitting down for too long, get up to do hip rotations. It doesn't have to be this 15 minutes dedicated anymore. It's just kind of it's a flow of the day that it happens.
Well, and make it work for you.
Yeah.
I'm delighted you said that because that's something I've kind of been spouting a while because I've been doing it myself. It's micro bouts of movement. It might sound a bit like whatever, but think about it.
Microdose of movement.
Yeah, you're in someone. We work with a lot of So I love what you said there. Yeah, it doesn't have to be okay. And I'm going to do my movement now. And if you're in an office, you'll see people instinctively move. They'll do something like this. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
As you said, I had to do it.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Yeah. So and you'll see people move their neck and all, but that's almost why they're doing that is their brain is like, dude, move.
Yeah, well,
you've been sitting here for
in the morning. You
it's
naturally
instinctive.
stretch. I love looking at the dog every morning. He does the downward dog and he's moving his spine. And you get him in the back garden. He's on his back kind of.
Did you teach him the downward dog?
He was teaching me. That's what he was teaching
me. Yeah.
But naturally, I think we have in us to just move.
Well, that's what we say that on our website. Reconnect with your inherent movement instinct. Now, often that.
Very well said.
Yeah, and often that. That's your inherent movement instinct, doing that bit of stretching and stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're having if you're at a desk 5 days a week for 40 hours, if you're to move say, and this is three minute movement breaks.
Yeah.
That's 9 minutes a day. That's 45 minutes a week.
Yeah.
That's your Pilates or your yoga class. But you're doing it at your desk, so it's increased frequency.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you have a neck issue, I have to go to... No, you're at your desk. I'll give you some neck exercise to do at your desk.
Yeah.
Even just warm up every day was something that I heard from Ryan Hurst of GMB years ago. It just makes so much sense. 5 minutes, warm up every day. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because you can go to the gym 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
But if you're not doing much for the rest of the week, you can still be sedentary,
Of course, big time. And I think even from an energetic standpoint as well, it's just you release energy when you move. I haven't done all that much yoga in my time. I think I've went to 2 sessions, but there's that connection with almost a spiritual sense as well. You move your body to release all this energy. You've got these chakras.
Tension as well.
The word yoga, I've heard it many times said before, but it means unity. It's the unification of the body and the mind. And then you're one, you can sit there and meditate and then go to the deeper realms and everything else that goes with it and expand your consciousness. But it just from just an energetic standpoint, it just feels good to move.
Feels good.
Feels very good.
Yeah.
Rob, 2 seconds. Apologies, Rob. We cut in and out there. I think we were talking about movement. Would have been the topic. Yeah. It would have been the topic. I'm trying to think now what it was in relation.
We're talking about yoga.
Yeah, yoga. Sorry, yeah. And I was just talking about kind of that energetic release. But one thing I definitely have found from moving many times before and doing the practices, like I said before, of your own routine, is this different feeling inside my body post movement.
Freedom,
freedom, but just release and relaxation and de-stress and just this ease that I feel in myself, and that just goes up to my mind, and then I'm a better person to be around. How many people are so highly strung and, you know, real tight and aggressive and angry purely because their body is just clenched up the whole time. Like, how else are you going to be? But when you're relaxed...
I've been there too, you know.
Yeah.
You're and I'll be there again.
Exactly. Well, not for a very long time.
Yeah, well, it could be like something, you know, when you have kids, for example, you know what I mean? But you're driving them and you're stuck at the M50 for an hour and a half or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, I mean, but certainly, I mean, when you're describing there, I was thinking that Homer Simpson, you know, he's like, he's clenching the steering wheel and these things pop up on his neck and he's just like so highly strung.
Yeah.
But absolutely, and that's, you know, the nervous system again there.
Yeah.
But yes, I felt a freedom from the stuff that we were doing after, you know, I went a long time without doing that.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like probably mid-30s by the time I learned it. And I was like, unbelievable. This stuff is unbelievable.
It's crazy.
Like, it's just like...
It's like a new world.
Yeah, it's empowering. Like, this is how I'm meant to feel, you know.
Yeah.
Not meant to feel... like, I used to have pain standing up, you know, in... I remember going to a funeral. I was in agony standing up at the back of the church in these suit shoes.
Yeah.
My back was a bit just cramping. So yeah, I completely relate. And you got to learn this stuff, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of people, you follow a few routines, allow yourself to learn it.
Exactly.
Sometimes I think a mistake is people think, this, again, going back to that chap, I know how to deadlift. You know, I can show you once how to do this exercise, but like, we've been doing them for a long time, and you can get better at them, you know.
Oh, definitely so. Yeah, I just think it's two different worlds. I felt it like you have before. It's like, you know, when you didn't move at all to where you move, and then move like instinctively now and move like that, like we talk about micro dose movements during the day. You're a different person. Yeah. And I think you're a different person to be around as well.
And I think, when I go back to, and I remember mentioning, who do I start? Athletics, for example.
Yeah.
Really good, you know, but your typical like 5-6 exercises, push-pull legs or full body splits, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
That's your typical gym exercises.
Of course.
And I felt good doing them. But after I, you know, learned the mobility stuff, I remember going back and repeating a program, and I was like, wow, all of a sudden I can stand up straighter now. My shoulders, my hips, I'm moving much better. Now it feels completely different.
That's a great point.
Because I'm not restricted, you know?
That's a really good point, because for years, when I was younger and a teenager, I used to struggle with the bench press.
Yes. Okay.
And until I just, you know, learned about mobility and start moving, I had no more pain in my shoulder. I had like this, just an ease doing the exercise, and I would get more out of it. Yeah. Because, like you talk about, greater range of motion.
Yes.
And that's what it's all about. Yeah. Rob, just to bring this conversation to a conclusion, there's something I want to touch on, which is in relation to mental health and well-being. I'm representing Mental Health Ireland for this cycle I'm doing in September, cycling to Croatia. What is something that has affected your mental health in a negative? Well, we'll touch on negative and positive, but we'll start off with the negative. Just, you know, it could be present, hopefully not present, but past, that's affected your mental health in a negative sense. You touched on booze before. Before we got going.
I mean, booze. I mean, I enjoy the drink. You know,
who doesn't?
I used to. I don't drink these days, but negatively, I suppose I definitely find myself like in my own head a lot. You know, and taking things down wrong, especially when I'm stressed. Yeah. You know, and imagining someone's taking things up wrong. Imagining someone's like maybe criticizing me when they're not, and I could just be negative about everything. Okay. You know? I've definitely found that, and then just not sharing it. You know? And then I'm like having these imaginary like arguments in my head. You know what I mean? It's like, again, go back to Homer Simpson when he was drunk. So I said, it's like, you know, so that without sharing it, you know.
Yeah, that's a big thing. So not letting someone know how you feel, is that what you're trying to say?
Well, maybe it might be like, I'm dealing with stressful situations. Yeah. Okay, whether it's whatever they are. Yeah. By dealing with them, I'm just trying to solve them in my own head rather than come out and like, I might even tell my wife, and then my wife says something to me, and I'm kind of like snappy at her. Yeah. You know, and like she has no idea that I'm sitting there on the couch. She has no idea that I'm worrying about X, Y, and Z. Yeah. If I can just tell her, listen, just let you know, this is on my mind. I'm a bit worried about this. I have this thing going on. Yeah. I'm a bit whatever. And Tuesday, I had no idea. Okay, and then it's like, then we can talk about it. And at least it's like, it is that old saying, like a problem shared is a problem halved.
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
So that's something that, you know, I do constantly kind of need to work on. I can be a bit like, I suppose as a kid I might have been in a huff a bit, you know, a bit sulky, you know, that kind of stuff without, and no one knows. I'm fine, you know what I mean? Now I've
fuck off.
I have 2 daughters now. One, you know, one of them's getting towards teenage years, so I kind of having to deal with that myself. So maybe that's one thing, like not sharing problems, kind of trying to deal with problems on my own and thinking,
just getting it off your chest.
Just getting it off the chest, saying it to someone. You know, it doesn't mean that they don't need to be there doesn't need to be an immediate solution, but just by doing that, it can be helpful.
It's almost because it's been recognized now. It's not just you consuming that idea or thought that's swirling in your head.
It's out there. It's not just.
That's a really interesting one.
And thoughts can evolve, and they can like evolve into something that they really aren't. You know, it's just like, you know, between our 2 ears. So if we can get stuff out, get stuff down on paper, or share with someone, that can be
that has power.
Useful, you know, like,
and you're going to solve them much better.
And often they're not as bad as you're making them out to be when they're uncommunicated and just existing as thoughts in your head. That's it. Sense?
Yeah, no, it makes major sense. It really does.
Yeah,
we have like, and just everyone in life worries and whatever it is, and you know, a lot of them worries don't ever come to fruition. They don't ever come true. Exactly,
and that's the thing. And you know, you might think you're the only person going through X, Y, and Z, and you can feel very isolated then.
Yeah,
you know, that isolated stuff where you're not sharing. That is like, and I've been there. That can be a dark and lonely place, you know, and you can like be smiling on the outside, but you're going through stuff that you're not sharing. That can be tough. And if you like, there's always someone, and it might be one of the numbers, the free call numbers, you know. But certainly bottling stuff up, not dealing with it, trying to mask it through other behaviors that aren't, and that you know deep down are actually harming your soul. They're, you know, that's kind of areas that I've that's things that I've experienced in the past, and it's a work on, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
So that'd be one.
And you would deal with that obviously much better now.
I deal with it better now, but it's like, you know, there's always going to be stresses and worries. Certainly are, and then you become a parent, and all of a sudden you're worrying about your children. Like, I mean, of course, it's like, you know, you're responsible for it. And like that doesn't stop when they grow up, for example. You know, it's just like, so it's a continuous thing. So I think it's all part of life though, isn't it? That it's like this cycle of whatever it is. Let's end on the positive then. So is there, what's, you know, in a positive sense, you probably touched on it already, does help your mental health and well-being? Well, certainly the training helps. You know? There you go. Like, I mean, just in terms of, you know, what we need, certainly I perform better when or I'm generally better when I'm, you know, get my physical training done. I have a dog there, Buddy. I walk him regularly, getting out in the fresh air. Fresh air is a massive one. I think being stuck inside and literally breathing in the same recycle air is not healthy. You feel like a different person when you have fresh air. I was on the cliff walk in Howth now this morning with Buddy, and it's absolutely beautiful. I jumped into the sea there yesterday, just 5 minutes. I seen that, with him. I was a couple of days ago. It was a couple of days ago. Couldn't train with the back, so that was helpful. So these kind of things are helpful. Planning, you know, downtime. Even myself and my wife have like TV or screen-free evenings. Good. Not all the time. But it's like, just how important is that? If you're on the screen a lot during the day, which I am, I mean, you know, posting or you know, making videos or just emails, etc., business, just having that, like, get away from the screens for a while, that can help. So there are a few tools, like, you know, I would say surfing is great for my mental health, but I don't do it often enough. So you mentioned play there. I go to the skate park. I can drop in now. I learned how to drop in there a couple of years ago, and in the skate park. So doing stuff like that, because when I'm standing there, and it took me weeks to drop into the smallest little ramp, I can drop into higher ones now. Do you have anyone you go with? Do you going solo? Go solo. Come on, fair play. Sorry, I'll go solo quite often, but during the summer now, my daughter rollerblades. I got her a skateboard, but like she got into the rollerblade, and so we both go. That's lovely. You know, so that's class. Lovely. But that's a way to, like, when you're engaged in something like that, or swimming, swimming has been amazing. Like I've done some like I did a 5.8k river swim there a while
I remember
ago.
you telling me that before, yeah.
So that is another thing, because that brings you, like a meditation in a way. You're not really, well, swimming's a bit different. You think of other things, but in the skate park or doing stuff like that, it kind of, you're focused on the moment.
Yeah.
Okay. When you're dropping in or surfing, you're focused on the moment. So that gives your brain a break from other things.
Oh, definitely.
So things like that, doing stuff that's fun.
It's like healthy escapism. Just
doing stuff that's fun that you want to do. So you're not just trudging all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, that is.
So hopefully that helps someone.
Adding a bit of joy into your life.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's many things that we enjoy to do. That aren't necessarily detrimental.
Yeah, and like, for myself, giving up the booze. Yeah. Well, I'll say I'm not giving up completely. I had a couple of glasses of wine on Christmas.
Yeah.
So that was 6 months ago, but that certainly helps, because I would die of hangover. I would suffer with hangovers.
Oh, big time. I say. Listen, Rob, just to wrap this up, I was going to say I've been influenced by many great men over the last couple of years. Touch on, Joe Rogan, all his wisdom from himself and his guests, and then Peterson, how to be a better person and be a better person to be around. And then yourself and all the movement practices and watching them routines day and night or not daily, not nightly, for a year and a half. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today. And it's been an absolute pleasure.
Right, absolutely. I really enjoyed it. And, you have an influence yourself. Like I've a lot of beetroot at home now after seeing a clip.
And rocket too, I hope as well. I'm glad to hear you get the good flow going around the body. If anyone is looking to get in contact with you or maybe join the Telos mastery that you have, where do they go?
Yeah, look us up on I'm Rob _movement101. You can go on the Brian _movement101, and drop us a message if you like. Have a chat. Yeah,
lovely stuff. Rob, it's a pleasure. Right. Thank you so much.
Thanks a million. Enjoyed it.
Lovely. Happy days.